Good afternoon, everyone. For some of you, good morning. My name is Pete DiStefano. I'm with Empiger Technologies. I want to welcome you to our webinar today, From Hype to Reality to Required, Chatbots for Customer Service. I want to thank everyone for taking the time today. With me, co-presenting, is our Chief Product Officer, Gopi J. My name is, again, Pete DiStefano. I'm VP of Marketing at Empiger. With today's session, for our sessions to be successful, we really want to make sure that we communicate and answer all the questions you have, in this case about customer service and chatbots. So please feel free to use the question and answer capability at the end of our session, and we'll do our best to answer all the questions you have. So please don't be shy. As we go through our session today, hopefully you'll find it of value and of interest, and hopefully you can take the information you learned today back with you to your company. We're going to talk about chatbots versus traditional chat systems. We're going to talk about some of the challenges companies have today with traditional customer service. We'll talk a little about what is a chatbot. Do you need one? What are some of those use cases and examples? How do you implement chatbots for business? And then again, we'll have Q&A. So I hope this agenda works for everyone. We're excited. I know Gopi's excited. So we're just going to jump into it and get going. So first, I'll start with a couple of insights from Gartner. According to Gartner, chatbots will power 85% of all customer service interactions by 2020. And by the way, this is all kind of to support this idea that when it comes to implementing chatbots for a company of any size, it has gone beyond hype. It's gone way beyond reality. It's getting to the point where it is becoming a requirement, hence the title. Gartner also provided us another interesting quote. By 2020, the average person will have more conversations with bots than they will their spouses. Now, we don't have to worry because I think all of us on the phone are above average, so that's just for the average people. I thought that was an interesting statistic. Now, with all this talk about 85% bots, artificial intelligence, this is another interesting statistic from Gartner regarding prediction into the future, and that's that there'll be more jobs created by artificial intelligence than the jobs that they could potentially eliminate. And I know this is an issue that many companies struggle with in leveraging automation technology and what impact that has on people, whether it's a customer or internally. And we're going to talk about that quite a bit as we go through our presentation. So let's talk about customer service. I think most people would agree that nothing is better than people talking to people, in this case, face-to-face, and really being able to communicate. When you talk about customer service, trying to understand what a customer's problem is, what their needs are, how to help them, help provide them the information they need. Nothing replaces people talking to people. Now, in today's connected world, face-to-face is always not practical. And whether it's consumer or B2C, whether it's B2B, agents, call centers, the way we support, the way we interact, the way we service our customers is through technology, phones, internet, etc. So when you look at this connected world and how you're dealing with your customers today, there's several things to think through. So when you think of traditional customer service, you think that this person here's got a smile, they look fresh, ready to go, and they're excited. And that's what you want when you've got people who are going to be engaging with customers, whether it's the first time, second time, etc. Well, the great thing about humans is they're emotional, okay? But that also includes things and emotions like frustration, like anger. And these things do manifest themselves, and they do manifest themselves with your call agents because they are human beings. And quite frankly, it can have a significant impact on those people, and equally important, if not more important, those reactions, those emotions can have an impact on your customers. The bad news is our customers hate us. The good news is we have a lot fewer customers than we used to. So I'm pretty sure that this is not the resource strategy that you have in your companies. And I got a little chuckle out of this. I thought I'd share it. But it's all about customer service. Everything that you do, especially if you manage a call center or customer service is a critical element in your company. Good customer service relates to high customer satisfaction, which relates to repeat business, which also relates to initial business. 91% of unsatisfied customers won't return for repeat business. So it's something you really have to think about. How are you serving your customers? So before we get to the next slide, I do have a poll question, and I'm going to open up this poll question. If you guys wouldn't mind, I'd love you to take and answer the question. So we'll give everyone a couple of seconds. Why don't you go in there, and I can see people are starting to answer the questions. All righty, I'm going to close the poll here in about 10 seconds. Okay, so just to let you know, the group by far, by double percentage, improving customer satisfaction was #1. But agent availability and agent skills were the next two in line. So I just thought I'd share that with everyone. All right. Just a moment here. Okay. Let's talk about some of the business challenges you face today from a customer service perspective. Sometimes it's hard to keep, well, to acquire and to keep the right talent. Your customer service at times can be inconsistent depending on the person. Again, part could be based on emotions. Part could be based on the skill sets of the people. Sometimes folks don't have the most current information, and it could be because it's hard to get through the systems that you have, and there's not time to do that work. Again, some of the customer service reps, they put in long hours, multiple shifts, training costs, onboarding costs. These are just a few of the traditional challenges that we see that companies have today. Now, what about on the customer side? It all really boils down to immediacy. Immediacy is one of the reasons that companies are building artificial intelligence into their products. There was one research done, 22% of millennials expect a response within 10 minutes of reaching out. Okay, but it's not just millennials. I bet you a lot of you on this webinar right now would agree that we're all now this digital consumer or digital business people, and we expect immediate, quick response. So most of this research and this information talks about immediacy in the context of consumer, but this applies to B2B as much as it does for B2C. So what do your customers want today? There was a study, a benchmark survey done by eDigital, and by far, your customers want to leverage chat above email, above phone, above social media. And here's some example of where that's ringing true. Over the last 8 years, the use of chat-based applications has skyrocketed over and over and over again, and looks like it's going to continue to skyrocket as we go into 2018. Chatbots are becoming pervasive. I'm not going to go over all of these, but 34,000 messaging bots in less than a year, from 0 to 34,000. 2.5 billion users of messaging apps. In just the last year, again, almost from nothing to greater than 50% of us starting to use voice and search commands. Major chatbot frameworks in the last 18 months from nothing to over 25. So I shared this data with you, And the reason this is growing so fast is because of the value proposition it provides, especially for customer service. So let's just talk about at a high level chatbot use cases beyond customer service. For IT, automating password resets through chatbots, asset management, document management, human resources, employee onboarding, time and attendance management, announcements and alerts, sales, lead management, opportunity management, quote creation, accounting, purchase orders, vendor payments, travel booking, expense reporting, and of course customer service, account resolution, status updates, subscription services, etc. This is just a small sampling, some examples of chatbot use cases across other areas. So I've got another poll question we're ready to go for. All right, I'm going to open the poll now. Take 30 seconds. Okay, I'm going to give you another 10 seconds and we'll close the poll. All right, so by the way, I was having a little bit of fun with answer A. You know, the reason we've scheduled this session, and we're actually going to be doing a couple of other sessions on specific to marketing and employee use of chatbots, but most of you have heard of it, and that's what your answers say here. Either you've kind of heard about it or you absolutely know what a chatbot is, but no one here has implemented it yet. And that's what's going on. A lot of people are learning, hey, I've heard about this, I know about it, but now it's time for me to start looking at how can I really leverage this capability moving forward. Okay, so what is a chatbot? Simply put, it's a computer program that simulates human conversation or chat, leveraging artificial intelligence. And they're typically used in dialogue. So obviously, conversation's a dialogue, right? Including and especially customer service, or for just information acquisition. And simply put, that is what a chatbot is. So now, what we're really going to focus on from this point forward is specifically customer service chatbots. You know, very simple, high level. A customer service chatbot is available 24 hours, 7 days a week. They're always happy. They don't get tired. They don't get angry. The customer can be mean. They can shout expletives or type expletives. And the chatbot is always going to be consistent. They will not react emotionally. They will react by providing information, and hopefully the right information quickly. And the other thing about chatbots, they scale. They scale up quickly. You can scale them down. And again, this is an advantage that you can take with your current environment. When you think about scaling people, a little more difficult. There's training involved. So the question of how can I leverage chatbot, a lot of it has to do with easy to scale. Now, we've talked a lot about things, and I know some of you are thinking, the robots are taking over, and humans are going to be extinct. Well, I thought I'd have a little fun with that, but there's nothing further than the truth than to say that these chatbots or bots are going to be taking over. What's more like the truth is the availability of combining the power of this technology with human beings provides a great platform for providing better customer support. It really is a win-win scenario. 265 billion customer service calls a year, that's a lot of calls. Chatbots working hand in hand can help you reduce costs and improve customer satisfaction, speeding up response times. And what you do is you free up your agents for the more challenging work. You free up your agents to have that human-to-human contact on the more complex, the more interesting challenges, questions, requests from your customers or prospects. and let the chatbots answer 80% of the routine, repetitive questions. And when you free up your existing human-based agents from answering these repetitive questions, they're now allowed to spend more quality time with customers. I'm not sure about your companies, but there's a lot of companies out there that their agents are required to minimize the amount of time they're on the phone. And I get that because they have a lot of people to service. But if you combine the capabilities of chatbots and answering a lot of those routine questions, now your customer service people can spend more quality time serving their customers. So let's talk about some examples of chatbot use cases. Manufacturing, order entry, inquiries, shipping status. Healthcare, it could be benefits enrollment, status, inquiry. There's a whole other set of healthcare with patient portals and helping people understand how their medicine is reacting or what type of reactions. Banking, credit card status, inquiries, location updates. You could be doing checking, savings, account balances, transactions. You can be doing all this using chatbots, and a lot of you are already probably using chatbots, whether you know it or not, with your own personal inquiries to services you use. Retail, when we talk about apparel or customer support, ordering, product advice and recommendations. Insurance, lots of things like filing a claim, policy statuses, questions, renewals, and on and on. Services, appointment scheduling, restaurants. A lot of the fast food restaurants are already doing this with ordering and payment, getting feedback, status of orders, and of course with logistics, the capability to know what the status of delivery is, when to be able to schedule pickups. A lot of this work that's being done with human beings manually, a lot of this can be done by a chatbot, and again, saving other type of customer service work in each one of these different industries for the human customer service folks. So how can a chatbot fill a gap? Reducing friction. When you talk about improving customer experience, you want to reduce friction. If you're not available, there's friction. Chatbots are always available. Oh, it's 5:30. They close at 5 o'clock. It's Saturday, and I'd really like to know what's going on. Chatbots are always available. Delayed responses. How long have you been on the phone? Waiting and waiting and waiting until the customer agent can finally get to you. So the average handling time is minimized when using chatbots. Friction of handoffs. I know we've probably all experienced you get on the phone with one person, they transfer you to somebody else, who transfers you to somebody else. So smart switching, leveraging a chatbot just to get you to the right human being. And in a lot of cases, a handover, leveraging a chatbot to answer certain questions, and then the chatbot with artificial intelligence knowing when I should pass, that chatbot should pass you on to a live agent. The customers demand consistent experience. Chatbots are consistent. There's no bad days. They're reliable. They show up for work every day. So an artificial intelligence-built chatbot can detect customer frustration. Based on that intelligence and based on those learnings, it knows when a customer is frustrated and knows when it can then pass them on to the right person to satisfy whatever that frustration is. So lots of gaps can be filled. Again, working hand in hand with the human implementation. So I've got one more question. I'm going to pass it off to Dopey, who's going to take you through some demo examples. So here comes question 3. Take about 30 seconds. Okay, so many of you thought every one of these was attractive, and that makes sense. Some of you really like the idea of the quick response, and some of you like the improved customer satisfaction. But overwhelmingly, all of the above. was the answer, but there was a smattering of answers across the board. All right, I am going to pass it to my colleague and our Chief Product Officer, Gopi J, and he's going to take you through the rest of the way. Gopi, it's all yours.
Thank you, Pete, for the introduction of about chatbots. Now, for the rest of the hour, I'm going to talk about more on the demonstrations and the strategy that you need to follow on building chatbots and etc. So I've got 4 demos lined up for this presentation. First, let me start with the banking use case problem statement that we have addressing that. This is a quick 1-minute video. This runs for about a minute. So you all will be able to see the video on my screen. This is a banking bot for one of the UAE-based banking customer who wants to put a chatbot for knowing where is the nearby ATM, or I lost my card, what should I do, or where can I find the nearby banking centers. And these are frequently asked questions by their customers, and a lot of their customer service representatives are answering these kind of a similar questions, and they want to automate this particular process. So a chatbot helps them to understand the question and route them accordingly to their responses. So let's say, for example, if they want to know more about their products, they can also sell their products without even browsing through a big bunch of a website. This is something very quick. They want to talk about it. Yes, hey, I want to know something more about the loan product. Let's say, for example, how to apply for a loan, what are all the documents needed for the loan, etc. The bot will be able to intelligently engage the users and try to sell some other products as well. So the current system is being integrated with their backend application, which I'm going to talk about those integration pieces a little bit later. But this chatbot use case is predominantly for our customer service and customer care centers. So for this, I'll just move to the next demo of the use case. I want to get you to the retail use case, which would be very relevant for the people as well. This is one very interesting use case where after you log into the retail platform, you would like to normally track an order, or you pick up a phone and call someone, hey, where is my order has been there. Those kind of a process can very well be automated very quick, and chatbots can seriously solve these kind of a small problems very, very quick. Let's say, for example, I want to make a delivery address change, or I want to make a reorder, or I want to find the track order status, and etc. Those are some of the very interesting use cases that we are getting from the customers and trying to solve them. And this is one such example that we have solved it in the recent times, to find the nearest stores and how far I'm away from the particular store. Can you get me a nearest store? So the bot understands the various intents and the entities that we are trying to show. Let's say, for example, I will also talk about what is an intent and what's an entity a little bit later, but to just set a context over here, if I want to find a nearest store or find my size, I don't have to teach the bot every time. Here, it understands size. It means it comes with an inches, and it should be coming up with a set of a parameter where it calls the entities. So order is a entity. So order is an intent, and the size is an entity, which understands, yes, this is the size that I need to pull it over there. So bot intelligently understands for a different set of the use cases that we are trying to put, and you don't have to reteach every time those intents and entities. You just set up one time, and it automatically learns by itself on those intents and entities perspective. You can also start pushing some of the current offers, everyday specials, and those are all some of the cool stuff that people are interested from the retail space. Let's say if I wanted to get something very quick, and if I'm running for a big marketing campaign for pushing some promotions, yeah, bot can definitely help you to retrieve these data directly from the customer database. So here in this particular demo, we have integrated this application with the backend ERP system they have. It's a homegrown ERP system. We're able to integrate with their backend system and able to pull out all of the information over here. So you don't feel like it is a static bot. It's a dynamic bot, data pulling from the backend applications. I've also got one more very interesting demonstration or use case from a healthcare customer. where they wanted to mm, get their dependents added and stuff like that. So these use cases are also very um, straightforward, applicable to a lot of players as well. Let's say, for example, I lost my membership card and I want to get membership card details. I don't have to go through a hell lot of process of getting into the application, find where my card is all about. The card numbers are very handy. People can ask the questions right there and then get those information from them. And some of the frequently inquired customer service questions where I wanted to update my dependent details, or I want to add my dependent details. These are all some of the valuable information that my bot is able to respond back and able to engage the users more casually and not in terms of asking them some complicated questions. So this like searching a pharmacy, as you have been seeing in the past two demos, finding an ATM centers or finding a nearby a retail store, and there's also one more use coming up for where can I find the nearby pharmacy. So just like finding up a store or retrieving some data very quick or like immediate use cases where people are really wanting for to get those things automated very quick. So you're on for about another 10 seconds. Yeah. You want to activate your membership cards. Yeah, there are a lot of easier ways that the like membership details or the account services can be activated very quick. And finally, I will just run through a manufacturing chatbot demonstration where you'll be able to see the live action of browsing through the products, tracking them, the orders, and etc. So here, the like bot doesn't have to be only textual response. The bot can also give a visual response as well in terms of videos, images, carousels, and etc. So that it becomes more engaging with the users, not just by typing or texting. So these are some of the best practices that we need to follow when we are building up a chatbot instead of just plain vanilla giving the users to type those questions and getting them. It is always better to engage them with the visual content so that there is a lot of stickiness around the application and around the chatbots as well. Even by, let's say, for example, if you want to track my order, yes, these are some of the very unique ways that we can represent the chatbots in a very casual fashion so that it is engaging well with the customers. Not just only an order inquiry, you can also go for a lead generation activities as well. Let's say if you wanted to promote a product or if you wanted to push any promotions, those are the ideal candidates that we can look for. And one of the very interesting use cases that we solved is on the warranty information as well. I got a product and I wanted to apply for a warranty information. That use cases can very much be solved very quick in terms of providing a very basic minimal data so that the warranty information is fed into the system automatically. That makes customer engagement more flexible and easy. These are some of the good use cases that we are seeing across, like engaging the users and bringing them more actively participated and engaged within the platforms. Yes, those are all the demo. I started with the demos so that you all know how these chatbots can be used upon. But now I'm going to show or like walk you through about how it actually works in the backend. So you all have seen the front end application. Yes, now what and how bots can really work. Yes, using artificial intelligence, the bot understands the question. So people talk about artificial intelligence. Where does artificial intelligence comes into picture here? Technically called as NLU and NLP. Most of the people will be aware of this terminology, natural language understanding and natural language processing. The plain English conversation should be a machine understandable, intelligent engine is called as NLP, where it understands the natural language, and it processes and respond back with the English respondable way. Those answers can be very much personalized in a like very cool way rather than typing in some robotic information or like robotic responses. So it understands the question and not just only responds back to the straightforward answers, it's also take decisions in terms of what kind of an answer that we are supposed to answer to this particular person depending on the question that he's typing on. Plus these messages received by the users can be a text or it can either be on a voice model as well. Now let me take a little bit more detail about architecture of a bot, how the bot can be architected. Let me take one example of a customer service. So your bot really goes here. This is the end output of the bot. So you all look at the end output of the bot, but internally where the bot That is that the data of the bot responses have to come from the backend APIs, or it can be from your databases, or it can be from any of the machine learning output. So chatbots are becoming a face of the machine learning programs as well. So as Pete mentioned earlier, there are a lot of hypes going on around the chatbots, and chatbots are becoming a front-end view of artificial intelligence, and that's the beginning of the era that we are all traversing across. So to get more details around it, yes, of course. Let's say, let me take the zip code example. Moment when like people type in the zip code, it pulls the API calls and find out what are the nearby stores. And these API calls would get into this natural language understanding to know whether the person is asking to find a nearby store. So once it understands the process of where is the nearby store, these API calls return back to these backend systems and able to retrieve the current zip code available stores or maybe the pharmacies and get back to the bots. So these are some of the straightforward use cases, right? When you look at deploying these bots into various channels, these channels can be gone directly into Facebook. It can go into your Kik, Skype, Slack, Telegram, wherever that you really wanted to. As a leader, we are seeing a lot of requests coming to us in integrating bots on their web application for a lead generation or for a product inquiry and customer service request. However, we also have implemented some of the use cases directly on the Facebook. Let's say, for example, you run a marketing campaign on a Facebook. Those are all the straightforward use cases chatbot can really solve in directly engaging with your customers and start generating some of the leads that you're looking for. Now, how to build a strategy? Yes, a lot of people have already shown up a poll stating that you are well aware of the chatbots, and what I would recommend at this point of time is to start something very small and start something very soon, and go with an assisted learning, where we technically call this supervised learning and unsupervised learning. So supervised learning is something that you train the bot with your English language and make the bot understand the flow and process it accordingly. Then comes the handoff to machine to human is very, very critical. So let's say, for example, a customer comes into the bot platform, he's typing 4 to 5 questions, got frustrated at the 5th question. The provision should be there to automatically transfer to the live agent so that the customers will not get more of the frustration, and the handoff should be there from machine to human seamlessly. This is very, very important point to make the stickiness around the people not to get frustrated with the chatbots and be able to make a clean handoff to the human agents. Then also we have to put mapping the customer, record interactions, and integrate deep communication. This is very, very important. In terms of recording the conversation is very, very useful for you to analyze what set of questions that your customers are asking for, and where and how you can improvise your customer experience, and everything has to definitely go there. So analytics plays a vital role, which I'm going to run through the next couple of slides of about what are the key metrics or what are the key parameters that we need to capture when we are building a bot. Then of course test and revise is definitely needed, and it's an evolution process. It is not just I built it one time and deploy and then go. No, you have to periodically monitor the chatbot's logs and customer experience and how far my bot is able to traverse and etc. That's where your like bot will be practically usable onto the production environments. And if you want to get into further more details, yes, of course, you collect the requirements, do one level of small spec. As I told you before, start with something very small, then make a script in a plain English, like a behavioral format. Then you architect solution with right API with the data, like what are the backgrounds that you're supposed to use. Then start the coding specifics. Once you're done with the development work, do a thorough testing of the chatbot with various set of questions that you're trying to put it. Then find out the right deployment area that you're trying to deploy it, whether you want to put it on a website or whether you want to put it on a Slack, FB. Those are the various ways that you need to seriously look upon in terms of where you're going to deploy it up. Then publish them accordingly. Monitor. The monitor and tracking the conversation is extremely critical. And a listing on the bot store is another way that you can promote your bots so that a lot of people can start using it up. And conversation analytics and usage analytics are another parameter. And you have to constantly improving the bot, not just doing one time and then it just moves on. Yes, in this slide I'm going to talk about some of the key metrics or the measurements that we need to capture. This is one of the very interesting or the important analytics that we need to pull up on. Number of user interaction happens, and what is an average session with chatbot, and how much of time that my people are engaging or using with the chatbot. Then what is the click-through rate, and to which part of area that I'm able to traverse through. What are the conversations my customers are getting into this, and how many active and how many engaged users are being into the platform. Then this is a very important point called confusion triggers, right? So this is where a lot of people get frustrated about when the bot is not able to respond back intelligently with the question asked by the people. The handshake to the human has to happen periodically, and you need to know what are all those triggers that created people confusion so that you can constantly improve the bot and improve the performance as well as the quality of the bot as well. And steps of conversion is also very, very critical. So these are the 6 parameters which I would strongly recommend. These should be there as a part of the chatbot strategy that you're building up so that you can measure them periodically and update your bots. And to just go further more depth in terms of building a chatbot strategy, you have to identify the right set of a use case and start with something very, very small and get those use cases drafted first. Then you have to understand what are those human touch points in terms of via emails or via phones or chats. So you have to understand what are the human touch points for those use cases that you're trying to put in. Then identify the right set of IT systems in place and what are those integration points that you're supposed to integrate with. These 3 are the key parameters for me to come up with an ROI analysis. What are my priorities? Once you have the prioritization built upon, you'll have to decide upon whether you're trying to build or you're trying to buy. In terms of identifying the right set of tools, or you need to select the right set of vendor who can solidly deliver my chatbots. And there is also another very important point I want to emphasize here, something called as boxed conversation and unboxed conversation. What is the difference between a boxed and unboxed? In my earlier demo, you would have seen I'm first engaging with first top 4 to 5 questions that I'm asking people. That sets the mentality with the people. Hey, these are all the questions that I'm going to start engaging my bot. If you leave it open-ended with the chatbot, people get confused about from where do they get started with. And like eventually asking for the questions that have not been assisted earlier, that would lead into a lot of frustration. So we always recommend our customers to go with the boxed conversation. Initially start with the box, then you go with the conversational flow and engage the users on a long term. So you have to decide upon what has to go in the box, what has to not go in a box. That is very, very important for you when you're building up a strategy. Then look at more on the security and the deployment work in terms of integrating into your backend application, how seamlessly the data is getting transferred, etc. That is one of the very, 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 very important factors that we need to consider. Then finally is success measurements. I mean, keep on emphasizing this point. Metrics is definitely a key factor for us to determine the bot performance, and that defines the success criteria of the bot deployments. Yes, when it comes really to the chatbot management, right? So managing bots is definitely a critical part of it. Then update the bot periodically in terms of looking at analytics and look at how you can periodically update the bots. Then look more from a scalability perspective. How many requests my bot can able to handle. So look at more scalability, high availability, security, and compliance part. So these are all the stuff that we are pulling in for a chatbot management. Now we get a little bit of a more technical about how a chatbot tool can help you building these chatbot conversations. Yes, I'm going right from the bottom. So here you have got your enterprise applications, be it your CRM, your ERP, or your AD directories, etc. Once you have your backend application, that has to go and integrate with the chatbot. So that we technically call as conversational UI platform. So the conversational UI is another area that I've been showing about earlier. You will not be having a mobile application or a web application like you have experienced. There's going to be another user experience called as conversational UI platform, which is a chatbot application. So this chatbot application will be able to understand the natural language conversation that you're typing it up and then respond back to the people accordingly. And there will be a lot of web services integration as well in terms of putting a geolocation, in terms of getting your analytics and etc. Once you have these kind of parameters, you have to route accordingly where the NLP has to be needed and from where my enterprise system has to be taken up, then finally decide upon the channels that you're trying to deploy with. So to build all this conversational part of it, chatbot tools can help you on automating some of the process. You don't have to start from the scratch. You will have to take up some of the chatbot tools that already solve these problems, because you know, industry leaders, we have been getting a lot of questions from our customers in terms of, hey, how do we build it? From where do I get started with? Or I've got a bigger backend application. Will the bot just do only the static response, or can it integrate into my backend and give an intelligent response with my data being pulled securely as well? Then how am I going to deploy? So this build, integrate, deploy has been a bigger challenge for a lot of people in terms of from where to get started with. So that is one of the reasons that we have started or built up our own platform called as Priya.ai. Play.ai is an intelligent engine that helps the developers to build bots much more quicker and much more easier with more workflows that we have got through. Because we are also seeing a lot of requirements that is coming from a chatbot development, and it is more like a cumbersome process of building, integrating, and deploying. So we built a wrapper around the NLE engines and created a platform that helps you to build chatbots very quick. Here, let me take one small example of a self-service or maybe a customer query, or even if you take about an employee engagement, like let's say I can create a personal HR for every employee. These are all the very very interesting use cases that we can try solving it up. And Play.ai takes those use cases and build it up as a platform. So it is a chatbot, it can be a process bot, it can be an automation bot. It like works with a human and a bot go hand in hand. And as I've been telling you from the beginning, integration with the backend system is very, very critical, because unless you integrate with your current system, the bot will not be able to satisfy the customer needs. So you'll have to always look at the integration piece of it. And Play.ai helps to integrate with any modernized application more easier and more quicker and faster as well. So what are the components that it has? Of course, these are the various channels that we provide upon. We provide Outlook channel, FB, you can put in a Teams, you can go for Kik, Slack, Skype, and etc. So you build bot once and deploy it on the various places. So the bot platform helps you to build and deploy high quality bots. Yes, we provide bot SDKs, bot connectors, development platform, and the bot directories. These are all the stuff that we provide on the bot platform. Plus, if you have your cognitive services that you wanted to embed into it, like a speech recognition, language translation, facial recognition, those are all the various cognitive services the bot can intelligently integrate into this solution, and then it will be able to build up a solution very quick. And not just only that, it also seamlessly integrate with any other backend systems that has been there from the customer side. Be it API calls and web services calls, they're able to very easily pull it up and then make the transaction much more livelier and easier for the people. Yeah, so what are all the gateways, right? So we also provision on-premises chatbot application and also the cloud-based system as well. So Play.ai provides both the service of on-premises setup as well as the cloud-based services. Plus, Play.ai also gives you a complete NLP engine. It comes with the natural language processing, and it does a little bit of a machine learning programs as well. It tries to learn people's conversation based on their conversing, and able to adapt it to the various channels from Telegram, Slack, and FBs. Is to just summarize what this tool is capable of doing is, of course, building, integrating, and deployment. Soup to nuts in terms of the chatbot. It is able to solve, Play.ai can solve in terms of how quick and how rapid that you can build chatbots and deliver it to the production environments. With this, I will hand over to.
Thank you, Gopi. So I've got a little homework assignment for everyone. First thing I'd like everyone to do, and by the way, we're going to have questions here. I've got 3 pending. So we're about to go to question and answer, so please feel free to just go to the Q&A section and serve up any questions you have. The first thing I'm going to suggest you do is you go back, you can use this slide deck. We're going to send it to everyone, and try to identify where the big pain points are, just as Gopi showed on one of those slides. Try to come up with your short list of potential candidates, and then assign a value, score each one based on the impact you think they'll have to customer service, and a variety of other criteria that you can decide on, some of those of which I think you just saw on a couple of slides. And then finally pick one, but don't even worry about doing a full implementation. As Gopi said, start small. So identify a project and then take a piece of that, a subset of that project, do a pilot, make that pilot successful, and then you go forward. But if you get to that point where you're ready to do this, we just showed you the platform we use in our service. And whether you acquire a tool, go to some vendor, or if you're interested in learning more about Piger, it doesn't matter. What's important though is that you get started, and you start slow, and you one step at a time. So if there's one thing I'll encourage everyone to do when you do go back, while this stuff is fresh in your mind, is sit down with a few key people and see if you can identify your short list. And again, and go through a process and come up with that first one. And that first one that you think you can go and get some experience with. from an Impaiger perspective, I will throw one thing out there. For those of you who have attended this webinar, if you'd like to get with us, we'll provide 2 hours of free consulting after you've done a little bit of some discussion back at the office and you'd like to kick some things around with us and get some of our thoughts based on your own initial assessment. I'd like to offer that up as something we'd give to you. Absolutely no requirement other than we'll give you 2 hours of some of our expertise to help you maybe wade through maybe what you do next. So without further ado, I've got 3 questions here I'll start with. And again, we're just about wrapped up, but if you have any questions at all, please just add them to the Q&A and we'll make sure we get them answered. So Gopi, the first question we have, and Gopi is the smart one of the two of us, so that's why I'm going to pass these to him, but how long does it typically take to build and deploy a chatbot?
It depends on the use case, certainly, but I can share my experience of building a chatbot timeframe. For typically, if you take about 10 use cases from a chatbot development perspective, it would ideally take between 1 week to 2 weeks. That inclusive of building, testing, and deploying them onto the production with integration from the back end. But naturally, it depends upon the integration complexity. However, I would say 1 to 2 weeks for the straightforward integration solutions. That's what the time it takes, 2 weeks to 3 weeks max.
Okay, and I've got a question here, and you did talk about integration. The question is, how does a chatbot work with my existing systems?
Yes. All the modernized applications who are providing an APIs, yes, of course, chatbots can very well integrate with the backend systems, because that is one of the major problems that we have been receiving from a lot of our customers. Without integration, chatbot has become a dumb bot. So unless until it integrates into your backend system, that's where the bot is becoming an intelligent bot. So yes, API integrations are the key factors to integrate with the backend existing systems.
That's actually not a bad lead into the next question. So this was, do the chatbots learn? Like, what's that process?
Yeah, right now I've been telling this, right, assisted learning. So at this point of time, chatbots are mainly meant for assisted learning, where we call it a supervised learning. So we have to constantly look at the conversations and then make the bots learn. But over a point of time, deep learning and reinforcement learning would be up to the picture to make sure that the bot learns by themselves in terms of building a personality and provide response based on the persona.
Okay, I've got one more question here on whether you build it using a tool versus building it from scratch. So like,
it has solved the problem, Pete, in terms of building a chatbot, and obviously you need a backend engine to integrate with. So building, integrating, and deployment are becoming a common factor nowadays when we are building a chatbot. So I would recommend to pick up the existing tools available in the market to get your chatbot started with, instead of you starting from the scratch and build everything that what those tools are trying to solve.
Okay, cool. All right, so I think that's it on questions. A couple of notes, and we'll call it a day. First of all, thank you, Gopi.
Thanks, Pete.
Great job. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Great attendance today. And I would like to just do a little bit of a advance notice, and we'll be sending out some communications. We are going to do a little bit of a deep dive on chatbots specific to employee engagement for internal purposes. And then we're going to be targeting one on marketing. The opportunity to use chatbots for driving sales and marketing promotions is a very big deal. So those are two to keep your eyes open for that. But I'll leave it up one last time. Are there any other questions? I think we covered everything we've been given, but if not, I want to thank everyone again for taking their time. I really do appreciate it. And if you're interested in taking advantage of the 2-hour consulting, just send me an email, or respond to the email registrations, or you'll also get a contact phone number on the slides that you'll get. So don't hesitate, just give us a call. And again, we'd love to help consult on technology. So feel free to give us a call. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day. Take care.